I don't see the soul.
Here we go. My nose.
15 seconds.
Good evening. Good evening. This is Lady Estelle and the Street Soldier crew. We are back for another Sunday evening with you. Your host this evening is glad to see that we are still here. We are still healthy. We are still alive and free. Who is that host? Dr. Joseph E. Marshall Jr.
All right. Thank you, Lady E. Thank you, Lady E. Good evening, Street Soldiers. Live and Free Radio. We're back again. We're back again. We're back again. It is Sunday evening. We are ready to go. Do everything we can to make it good in your neighborhood. Thank you from wherever you are listening to the show right now, watching the show right now, going to listen to the show later on in the podcast. Just however you get this, however you get this good advice, good information, good example, good instruction. As long as you get it, we're all good. We're all good. Dr. M here, all things alive and free, Street Soldiers and Omega Boys Club. Lady E, that was you that said introduced the show. So I guess you could say hi anyway. Again, no.
Hey there, everybody. That was me.
And Annie B, that's you, and that's you, that's you, and you got more? Is that it? You done? Done? Okay. Phil Mo Mike.
Hello.
Phil Mo Mike.
Wash your back today?
Yes.
There you go.
That's hard to do.
Not for you. You got long arms.
I ain't mine that long. I'd have to be Mr. Fantastic. Woo, man, you need to scrub, brush, and all that. You know, yeah, to get
just need the back scrubber. That's all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now we talking.
Or somebody to wash your back.
Oh,
Yeah,
I was gonna say that, but
You can say
I didn't want
that.
to hurt nobody's feelings, you know.
Nah, you can say that.
Okay.
What's up, Soul?
Hey, how you doing, y'all? What's up, family? Nice day in the Bay today, huh?
Beautiful weekend.
Did I
Yeah.
read somebody was going to run? Did I read that? Next week. But next
They
week
don't
starts
know.
tomorrow.
They don't know. They don't know.
They don't know?
They don't need. The weather's crazy.
I know.
Say it's
That's
gonna-
what
it's
it was
gonna-
warm now. No,
It ain't gonna be.
you don't go by nothing they say.
Not the weather, man. No, not no more.
I don't know.
We can't go by the old rules
Yeah.
for weather. We just have to. It's not like is it hot or cold. It's more like, well, a tree didn't fall on my house. Cool.
Wow.
You know what I mean? It's not 130 degrees. Okay, cool. You know what I
It
mean?
used to be a lot more
Accurate.
accurate. Yeah.
Okay.
They would say, oh, it's gonna start raining this tonight, and it would start raining tonight. Now.
I'm curious.
know.
Did you ever watch the Weather Channel?
Yeah,
Did
I
you?
did.
I did for a minute, and I
5
stopped.
minutes.
It was like it was I don't know. I just want to see what it was about, and then I didn't do it no more.
Watching the weather channel is like watching the preview channel.
The what channel?
You remember the preview channel?
Oh, the preview. Yes, it is. There's really nothing there.
Really nothing there. So,
It's exciting for about 5 minutes.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, okay.
That's no, yeah, no, and
I'm
that's
good.
fast. All right, NBA has started. NBA playoffs have started. 4 games yesterday, 4 games today. You know, depending on who you. I am gonna give somebody some love though. Any Knicks fans out there, I know you gotta be feeling good because your boys are in it. They're in it. I mean, you know, Stephen A. Smith is going nuts, but that's all. So my son-in-law's a Knicks fan, so
Okay.
I'm gonna give him some stuff.
I think we got some hockey playoffs going on too. Show
All
us your hockey knowledge, Doc.
0. I mean, I know the puck got to go in the net.
Okay.
Hockey's
That's
like
smart.
soccer to me. I can't figure out the rules.
Mm.
They have all sides and all. Well, because I just don't know soccer. And
You just got to play it a couple times.
yeah. And I ain't playing no soccer or hockey.
But I think the Sharks are in it. I think we got a local team in the playoffs.
I don't think the Sharks. Are in.
I don't
No.
know.
Okay.
Well, that hockey match I went to see. I don't. Anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Obviously, we don't know our hockey base. That's
We don't know.
because
Wow.
we talked and we didn't say nothing, and nobody else said a word. So okay,
You know,
Like
I
the
mean,
Weather Channel.
somebody call us in, call in, give us a little hockey
Premier
report.
channel, right? You know. All right. A couple of news items. We got a little beef going.
Yeah, a lot of rappers got a lot of
Oh
beef.
man, beef is back, huh?
But this is beef between San Francisco and Oakland.
Oh, okay. Why? What
They
happened?
beefing because San Francisco is suing Oakland because they say that renaming their airport infringes on the San Francisco city trademark.
Okay, well, that's a
And-
little bit of a stretch.
Well, I don't know. Let's
I don't
see
know
now.
about that.
Yeah, well,
That is-
okay.
I'm
let
just
me-
saying, San Francisco and Oakland aren't
hold
beefing.
on. One
Right.
week-
Okay, got you. Yeah, I agree with
Let
that.
me read it here. 1 week after Oakland International Airport approved adding San Francisco Bay to its name, San Francisco officials have sued, claiming the new name infringes on the trademark of SFO. The new name change for the formerly Oakland International Airport is now San Francisco Bay Oakland International Airport.
That doesn't even sound right.
Because they both want the name San Francisco.
Thank you. It
And they
doesn't
both
sound right.
not in San Francisco.
Oh,
Okay.
but that's not the point. No, no, 49ers name San Francisco. But you know,
There you go.
but the point is, I do know a little bit about trademark, infringement, and the whole standard, Mo, just so you know, is they can't be confusingly similar. So I'm going to read these two, and you tell me if they're confusingly similar. San Francisco International Airport, San Francisco Bay Oakland International Airport. That sound like trademark infringement to me. That is so similar. I don't know what to do.
That's
So anyway, we'll see how
They
that
should have
works
been
out.
way more creative than that. I know they're going after the tourist money,
Of course.
worldwide, but they could have
well-
called it the
Well,
anything.
traffic at OAL, I'm calling OAL right now, is down. So they're saying, we got to spice it up. But those two names are the same. Can you imagine getting ready to fly? Am I going to San Francisco?
It's not- well, the-
International.
the-
I'm going to San Francisco Bay, Oakland International. That's
Rent your car.
that's too.
as a Bay Arean, it's very cool though to have almost 4 airports at your service. Living in Northern California, you do have options. You got San Jose, you have San Francisco, and you have Oakland.
what's the other one?
You go to SAC.
Oh, SAC, yeah.
Okay.
But it
Yeah,
says
you if you have to, you can. You're right.
San
I'm just saying.
Francisco,
Yeah.
and it said Oakland. Now this one says San Francisco Bay, Oakland, and
Nah, they didn't stop that.
yeah. All right. Here's an ugly one. So for those of you, we did a policeman a couple of years ago. All right. A retired San Francisco police officer, St. Louis, my hometown, town of my birth, police officer, beaten by his former colleagues, was awarded $23 million. A former St. Louis police officer has been awarded $23 million after he was beaten by other officers while working undercover in 2017. Hall, who is black as his name, was attacked by his colleagues at a protest in September of 2017. The demonstration had been organized by a white police after Jason Shockley, a white police officer, was acquitted of killing Anthony Lamar, a 24-year-old black man. But during his undercover assignment, a police officer ordered him to the ground. Though Hall began to comply, he was forcibly thrown to the ground twice, kicked and hit by fists and police batons all over his body. All right, he said that the attack left him with several herniated discs and a jaw injury that made him unable to eat. He developed gallstone. Anyway, it's a mess. Right, suffered PTSD and was too disabled to work. He retired early, ending his 22-year career with the St. Louis Police Department. Brother got beat by his own. Hey, police, the latest one on the police misconduct louder, but he getting paid, but I ain't gonna put his body back together, right? Although, yeah. Whew. More to do. Okay, so that's all I gotta see. You got a couple before we get into the show, and
There's more sports news. We had the WNBA draft. last week, and just riding the wave of the last few months. That was exciting to see Angel and Caitlin get drafted, and we got a team coming to the Bay Area in a couple. In 2025?
So we got
You know about
WNBA team coming, right? Where they gonna play? No.
Chase Center.
They're gonna play in the Chase Center.
Oh, they got a name yet?
No.
Oh, okay. All right.
But I think people is already, my sister said something about they trying to, buy some tickets, some season tickets and all that. So it's in the works. So yeah, at least we'll have a chance in the Bay Area to see some of these great WNBA players.
I'm going.
Yeah.
I want to see a 3-point shootout between her and Steph, which is gonna happen because he did it with Sabrina Ionescu this year.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be more exciting than the game. Boy, that girl can shoot. Lord, anything else when we go to the show? Anything else? We gotta go to the show. I think that's it. You got anything? Nothing. All right.
Happy belated 420.
Oh yeah, and happy Earth Day.
Yeah,
Thank
happy
you.
Earth Day.
Thank you, Earth. I know your weather is a little unpredictable, but so glad you letting us hang out with you on your planet. Thank you.
Thank you.
I got the Earth Day. What did you say, Philmo?
Happy belated 420.
420.
Yeah.
Was that Earth Day or just 420?
It was yesterday.
It was yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
It happened to coincide, I guess.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I hope the Earth is going to be around for us to say Happy Earth Day, because they don't take care of that. We know that man does not take care of the Earth. And they got this movie coming out that made me think of that.
Which is?
They got another Planet of the Apes movie coming out again.
Oh wow.
Yeah. And my prediction is that man gonna mess up so much it's gonna be the apes against the machines. Just
I've never been a huge Planet of the Apes.
you should watch the first one. The first one's good.
The very, very first.
The
one.
very, very
In the
first.
60s or 70s when did it come?
Yeah, it'd be like 400 years ago. Watch that one.
Okay.
The rest of them, nah.
All right.
It's just the same thing over again.
Gotcha.
Apes talking, taking them. It's good. Lady, you want to see Planet of the
No,
Apes?
no.
So on this one, they discover that this woman can talk, and they're like blown away because, as far as they know, humans can't talk. That's the whole premise. Once again.
Mm.
Okay, all right. Tonight's show. A couple of things we're gonna do. The second half of the show is Autism Awareness Month, week, day, something. I know it happened in April. We want to acknowledge that. So the second half of the show, we're going to highlight that once again, autism is huge, particularly, in all communities, but a lot of people don't realize, and we learned this from our previous show, how prevalent it is in communities of color. So we're going to spend the second hour of the show on autism. And the first hour, our title is Good Man Doing Good Things. That's our title. Good man doing good things. And, I've known this brother for a long time, but we just lost track. And so he sent me something. I don't know if he sent me an email or he did a LinkedIn. Everybody do LinkedIn now. LinkedIn. I don't know how he got. But I said, I got to call him. So I called him, had a nice chat. And I said, brother, you got to come on the show. So welcome to.
And Doc,
yes.
Never mind.
No.
Oh,
yeah.
Just letting you know you were correct that April is Autism Awareness Month.
Okay. All right.
All right.
I wasn't incorrect. Nice to be correct. So welcome to Street Soldiers, Farah Dude. Farah, how you doing?
Thank you.
How are you?
Good.
Man?
I'm
How
good.
are
I'm
you,
good,
man?
Dr. Marshall.
Thank you for coming on. Thank you for taking the time. Thank you for waiting for me to catch up with you. It's not crazy like me be the loco and I when I got this and I looked at, I started, reading this email and I said, look at this. I'm going to show you this. This is a award honoree California Music Video and Film, 7th Annual Social Justice and Hope Award. No More Violence, No More Pain, Billy Farah Dude. I said, oh man, that is cool. Then I hear there was another one in here. Wait, hold on. Okay. A certificate of recognition from the California Senate. Everybody see? California Senate. Um, Congratulations on the occasion of your red carpet gala fundraiser award ceremony and
Thank you.
premiere. No more violence, no more pain. All right, and a certificate honor from the Board of Supervisors, City and County of San Francisco. So I mean,
Pretty cool.
man, you've been at it, brother. You've been at it, and you know, I had to remember the name. I had to remember the name. The name stuck in my brain, and I realized finally why it stuck in my brain. As we were talking yesterday, you did the first theme song for the radio show, right?
Yes, I did. I
Yes,
did.
the very first one. I think it was even before we did the Herms theme song, Street
Yeah.
Stand for Positivity. So, but what was your when we fought? I remember. Do you remember the words?
Yeah. Yeah. It was a lot of street violence and stuff,
Yeah.
community violence going on back then. So I produced a song called When You Fall.
Yeah.
And the hook was, when you fall, all you're gonna be is a name on a wall.
That's right. That's right.
And the reason why is because when a lot of the young people were dying, they were, spray painting their names on a wall. So
Yeah.
it's like, that's all you get, is your name on a wall, Yeah.
Thank you for that, man. That was back in the days we started part of our making Street Soldiers like a household name in the Bay, right? And so
Yeah.
thank you for that. We've had great theme songs over the years. And I remember that, man. I remember when we saw it come on, that would be like, man, that's right. And that was the crack cocaine era, and people was dying like crazy, and 250 murders a year in Oakland, 150 murders a year in the city, and so thank you. And here we are all these years
You're
later,
welcome.
still doing our thing, and you still doing your thing. Let's get a little bio information on you. Tell everybody where you're from, where you're born, and we're gonna go through the whole life story.
Yeah, born and raised in San Francisco, born in Bayview, Hunters Point, raised in Bayview and Lakeview. After my mom and pop split, my mom moved to Lakeview, so we were back and forth from Hunters Point, living with my dad, to living with my mom in Lakeview. So grew up in San Francisco, and lived the street life in San Francisco as a young man.
You get caught up. It's always interesting to me how what was it just, well, you tell your story. How'd you get caught up in the first place?
Well, I was, I wanted to know about the streets because when I was coming up, we looked up to pimps, players, hustlers, like Ronnie Newt and Fillmore Slim and people like that. So when I was little, they would come through the neighborhood, giving us money, having us run to the store for them, all that kind of stuff, watch their car for them so nobody would mess with it. So it kind of intrigued me. So unfortunately, I was in the arts and all that stuff. And then I fell off into the game. I learned about the dope game and hustling and stuff like that. So I got caught up in it, and I got incarcerated. I did time in San Quentin and time in Susanville State Penitentiary as well. So I say it was kind of one of the best things that happened to me because I see a lot of people lose their lives, man. They're dead now, strung out on drugs, or it's just giving up hope, and a lot of them are homeless and on the streets. One of the best things happened was me getting incarcerated, because after I got incarcerated, it was a knock upside my head. Hey, man, you're doing the wrong thing. You need to go back to doing your craft, the arts, and and acting and dancing and singing and filmmaking, stuff like that. So when I came home
Let me
from
ask,
being
Ron,
incarcerated,
Ron, let me ask, how long were you locked down?
well, I had got like a 4-year bid.
Mm-hmm.
So I did a couple of years. I did time in San Quentin, about like maybe like a year and something. Then I did about a year and something in Susanville. And then the rest of the time I got blessed. I was on a halfway house and then on probation for actually a couple of years. And let me tell you, probation is one of the hardest things
Yeah.
to shake, because I was on probation for 2 years, and you can't get no contact with police officers. You can't have no violations. You can't even run a stop sign in a car.
Right. And
So that was one.
you definitely can't be in the presence of of uh and
Other
formerly
felons.
incarcerated. Yeah, you can't, other felons. That's right.
Yeah,
That's how so
yeah,
many people end up getting violated.
yeah. So it was kind of tough, but when I came home, a blessing was connecting with you and Jack, and actually becoming part of the Omega family, and helping to mentor kids at juvenile hall, and and speaking and stuff like that, and sharing my story and my what happened to me in my life with other people. And so that sparked me and made me want to be a person working with youth.
Yeah.
So not only you guys inspire the young people to go back to school and college, you guys inspired me to go back to school. So I went and got my health education certificate degree and studied criminal justice. And then I started working with young people almost 35 years ago, and been doing it ever since.
So many. Was there a moment that I don't want to be dramatic about this, but that clicked in your mind, like, man, this ain't working? Because so many guys, so many and women, they can't get out and they stay out. They go out, get out, and they go back. It's like, you.
Yeah,
I'm always hoping something's gonna be the wake up call, and you're gonna figure it out. That I've had guys say, well, I'm gonna just do it better next time, right? Somehow
yeah,
you heard all of this. For
yeah,
you, what was there a moment, or did an
yeah,
OG grab you in there, or what was it?
yeah, yeah. Actually, reconnecting with God as I know him.
Mm,
I got incarcerated, and I started reading the Bible
mm,
again,
mm,
and I got saved,
mm.
and uh, that actually changed my life and my perspective on things. In working with a lot of young people through reentry, and then working with adults inside county jail and San Quentin with the No More Tears Project, you have to want it. You have to want to change. See, a lot of people they put one foot in and one foot out, and they, like you said, Dr. Marshall, yeah, I'm gonna do it better next time, man. After I go in this time, when I come out, I'm gonna be better. Well, no, it's not always the case. You might not make it out. And
Right.
then when you come out, the society is changing. So things are getting worse for you out here, because, man, when you come home from being incarcerated, if it wasn't for programs like Omega and other programs helping folks, man, I don't know where a lot of us would be, because it is extremely hard to go back and get educated, get you a job, get you a craft, a trade. You behind the dime, especially if you've done a lot of time behind the wall.
Yeah, and brother, I really admire you, man, because I see so many brothers who I call just can't figure it out. They somehow they're gonna do it differently or better. And here's my whole thought, and I'll say this, I said this many times about, you know, that other dude wasn't you. This is the real you.
Yeah.
For somebody you was trying to be, right?
Yes.
You're trying to
Yes.
be the street dude, but that ain't really you anyway.
Yeah.
So, and I
And
feel so sorry for them when they trying to be somebody they not, which you're gonna be completely unsuccessful at anyway. And you're
yeah.
gonna end up in the joint for 5, 10 for life.
Yeah.
Plus, you're gonna hurt a
Yeah.
bunch of other people trying to be
'Cause
somebody that you're not.
yeah, because I wasn't a cat that enjoyed packing a pistol, learning how to cut up and cook dope, learning how to sell it. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't really my forte. I was in the arts. I was blessed that I was doing acting, singing, and dancing and stuff like that. But I seen my oldest brother, my cousins, and some of my partners. Man, they got the jewelry, they got the cars, they got the women. You know what I'm saying? And I'm walking around with holes in my pocket, man. I'm like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
If I get down with this right here, I could have just like they have it, not knowing the consequences of doing what you're doing. See, a lot of young cats, they get into the game and, gang banging and dope selling and stuff, but they don't look at the consequences. Once them consequences hit you and you standing in front of the judge and the judge telling you getting all them football numbers, hey, you got 23 years, 15 years. Hey, it ain't nothing
290
nice.
months. Yeah, yeah. When they say the months, that's what that blows my mind.
Yeah,
12 times 12, you gotta, man, that's 15 years, Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, brother. Yeah.
yeah, you got to do the math.
Well, congratulations, man. Congratulations. Uh,
Thank you.
I can't say enough about every time I go into one of those places, Quentin, or I used to go a lot more. For some reason they don't invite me as much as they did before. I don't know why. But
Yeah,
I know there's a Malcolm X in there. Because Malcolm was in there, right? And look what he
yes,
became once he realized who he really was. And so
yeah,
you have since, and for all the brothers out there who are listening and sisters out there, man, I can't do it. I can't do it. I can't do it. I keep going. Yes, you can, because he did it. See, he did
yeah,
it.
yeah,
He gave. I call you gave them their numbers back. That's what I like to say. You
yes,
gave them their
yeah.
numbers back.
And see, the thing is, you never. The bad thing is, they never let you forget. And it like I said, like when you go for employment and different things like that, it always comes up, man, whatever your record was, and you should be honest. I never lied on a job application. I always said, they said, are you convicted of a felony? I put yes with an explanation. And the reason why I do that, because they nosy. They want, oh, I'm gonna get this dude an interview. I want to find out what the explanation is.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I got to give credit to Dorsey Nunn, Oliver Nunn, and Desmond Meade down in Florida, and that whole movement around banning the box, and giving formerly incarcerated their voting rights back, the whole bit.
Yeah.
Really do that, man. Because see, when you're free, you're free. You out, you out. And
Yes.
you do your time, then you should be able to. That should not be against you, as far as I'm concerned.
But yeah, it's like, they make it very, very hard for us. But you got to be persistent. Me, myself, I always honest, always on applications or whatever I did or interviews, always upfront, always honest. And the blessing was working with Omega and then learning and meeting new people. I ended up being the artistic director at Juvenile Hall for 10 years with community programs. Then, and then God went even further than that. The institutions that I went in, like San Bruno County Jail and 850 Bryan, for 25 years, I had a violence prevention, health, arts, and education program in those institutions. And then I was able to work with the No More Tears project with the lifers and go back to San Quentin as well.
That's amazing. That is amazing. That must have been something for you to go back in there as a
Yeah,
free man
yeah,
to help other brothers. That's got to be
yeah,
an out of this body experience.
yeah. I mean, it it gives you this feeling of that you have to give back. The doors opened and I was like, okay, God, I have to give back because I've been so blessed to go back to college, get myself together, start a career for myself. And the career has taken off, Dr. Marshall, and went everywhere. I started, like I said, acting, singing, dancing, and then producing music. I produced music with some of all the top like Bay Area cats like San Quinn, Turf Talk, Big Rich, you know, and that was a blessing. Then it goes further than that. God blessed me to be a filmmaker. And I'll say this real quick. I had a touch of dyslexia when I was younger. And I used to write with my right and left hand, and words used to kind of look kind of weird to me. And they were, oh, we don't know what's wrong with him. But then they finally figured it out. Oh, he has a touch of dyslexia. So I hated writing. That's why I hated turning in my homework and doing what I had to do. But
Wow.
as the years progressed, I outgrew it. And then I started writing. And man, God, I'm telling you, God will take what you think is a weakness and make it your strength.
Yes,
I
he
am the
will now.
author. I'm the author of the stage play King Tut, the Boy Who Would Be King. And it has played to sold out audiences at the Bayview Opera House, Black Repertory Theater, and the D. Young Museum. And it's registered with the Library of Congress. I'm the only one that I know of that got a full story and a musical stage play about that guy.
Whoa. Whoa. How early did
That's
you know? Did you?
wonderful. Won't he do it? That's how we talk.
And it's
Won't he
it
do
and
it?
it don't
Yes, he
the
is.
strange
Yes, he
thing,
is.
it don't stop there. My latest project is the movie that I was talking to you about. It's for violence prevention, anti-bullying, and female empowerment. And it's inspired by the WBA super welterweight boxing champion, current boxing champion of the world, Raquel Miller, who is from San Francisco, Hunters Point. She's in the movie. She was boxing coordinator for the movie, and the movie is inspired by her. And then Cindy Herron from the group In Vogue came and blessed us because Cindy grew up in San Francisco as well. And she does the voiceover for the movie. The movie won the Top Star Award last year at the West Coast Hip Hop Awards in the film category.
This is astounding. It how many, I'm thinking of all the brothers and sisters in there who have this kind of brilliance that is being, they just can't get in touch with their true self.
You
And
it,
they-
you have to put aside what you learn and then relearn. What do you want? Which angle? Where do you want to go? Like the other thing that you had mentioned, that was a blessing out of nowhere, to get the Social Justice Award for a music video that's the title track song to the movie No More Violence, No More Pain, starring Lenny Williams, and then a lot of the rappers, San Quinn, Turk Talk, Clyde Crossing, Big Rich, JT the Bigger Figure. They're all in the movie, and the movie is actually about violence prevention and preventing violence. And it's a story about a young man who makes the wrong choices. That movie won the international Film Festival Award, Trailblazer Award, and Producer Award. Yeah, God just keep it, he just keep it coming, and I just keep it doing.
How did that project doing? I love that. How did that project come together? That one really caught me because of all the artists that was involved. How
Oh, oh,
did the story of that coming together?
um, I write out of necessity, when I want to see something, a story or a movie, right? So I was like, God, I want to do a movie that I could get a lot of rappers to speak back to the screen and talk to young people. So it was timely with me producing music with these cats. I said, man, hey, y'all know I'm a filmmaker, man. Look, I'm gonna be making a movie. Can I barter some stuff, man? Could I make some beats for you? Can we barter some stuff, man? Can we work on? And it all worked out. And then a good friend of mine knew Lenny, and then Lenny Williams found out about the project. Lenny came and man, I love what you're doing for Ra. I'm gonna help you out. He came and played the father in the movie for me, and me and Lenny Williams have been cool and like best friends ever since.
Did you shoot the movie in the city?
Yes, all my stuff, man. For anybody out there, y'all need to know this right now. San Francisco is for Radu's. He loves it. I'm from there. That's my city, man. Producer, director, writer, actor, straight out of there, recording artist. San Francisco, my city. I shot almost all my movies there. I shot No More Violence, No More Pain there. I also just shot Hood Pretty is the one for female empowerment. And then God bless me, Dr. Marshall. I did a movie that's called The Bishop. And the movie is actually about my life story. I started to write a story about my dad, but then God spoke to me and was like, no, this story is about you. So that if you ever talk to whoever, kids or groups of people, I'm going to give you a movie about your life story, about your drug dealing, your incarceration, and you're coming back to me when you got let out of prison. Yes, and that movie right there, that movie actually won some awards as well. So God is good.
See that. I gotta see all of these. Are these online or
The thing with my movie No More Violence, No More Pain, you can see it at faraduzfilms.com. And you can see the musical stage play King Tut at faraduzfilms.com. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put out the movie The Bishop. I'm going to put that out this year on faraduzfilms.com. But I'm looking for a streaming platform like a Hulu or a Netflix or Tubi for the movie Hood Pretty. That movie is really, really good. And I want to do one more red carpet premiere of it in the Bay Area because a lot of people came to the first premiere of it at the Bayview Opera House last year. But a lot of people keep asking me, do one more. So hopefully this year, I'll be able to do one more red carpet premiere of the movie Hood Pretty.
You definitely let us know and we will get the word out.
Yes, definitely.
I gotta ask you, Lady E just wrote a book and she's learning the business of getting the book out, learning Amazon, learning all of this. I mean, it's a whole new thing. You had to learn all of this business stuff.
Yes.
Be a whole experience for you.
Yes. The important thing to anything, I have to give a shout out to my mentor, Danny Duncan. Danny Duncan, world-renowned choreographer, playwright, and director, and who was a magnificent actor and dancer in his own right. That's my mentor. And so when I was young and coming up, I had the chance to work. We had the first School of the Arts at Balboa High School. I graduated from Balboa. Cindy Heron of En Vogue graduated from Balboa High School, and a lot of other people. It was the first School of the Arts. Our director at that time over the theater department, Yvonne McClung, is the one that helped start the present School of the Arts that we have in San Francisco now.
Yes,
So I started from there. And so, like I said, when I came back home, I dove right in, and I said, okay, I want everything back. And I started learning. You have to learn your craft. You have to learn. It's a lot to learn, but you have to learn it to protect yourself. I have my own publishing company for my music and my plays. Everything is copywritten. So you can't steal none of Farah's stuff because a lot of time they tell you, oh, mail in this, send your script in and all that kind of stuff. I would never, ever do that. But that's very, very important is copywriting your stuff, your music, your book, your stage play, your film that you wrote. That is the most important thing that you could do if you are a writer. Once you do that, you secure, everything is secure. Then you go from there, trying to secure funding to do different things. You have to learn about the nonprofit situation and learn how what you're creating, everything, Dr. Marshall, that I create has a message in it. Like I said, Hood Pretty, anti-bullying, female empowerment, no more violence, no more pain, anti-bullying, the Bishop movie, a mirror to my life. And then I have another movie I'm working on right now. I'm working on a screenplay.
You work on all these things at one time. Boy, you must be crazy. Do you sleep?
Sometimes I have insomnia, but I got another movie. Let me plug real quick. I have a movie we're going to be filming in San Francisco. It's called Pink Diamonds. It's about a diamond heist in San Francisco. The message in the movie, the movie is about greed and gluttony. I always have messages to my films. That one, I pray that we be able to start filming this summer. We already start filming. Some of it is starring Fillmore Slim. And then we got another a host of cast members, very talented people coming out of the Bay Area and, of course, San Francisco. I've been working with some of them. Last year I did Legend, the Fillmore Slim story. I did it as a Broadway-style stage play and musical, and it was phenomenal at the Bayview Opera House. Phenomenal. So that's how me and Slim connected, and me and Slim, we good friends. He's been kind of sickly a little here lately, but y'all send up a prayer for Fillmore Slim. He actually already shot all his stuff for me to star in the movie Pink Diamonds.
This whole conversation has been amazing, and you know, I have a couple of sayings I use. One person can do a lot of damage, and one person can do a lot of good. And you're either part of the problem or part of the solution. You are part of the solution. You're doing a lot of good, and I just gotta thank you, man. No, I really do. I gotta thank you because, I mean, I gotta salute people who are doing good, because a lot of folks aren't, and it makes life hell on the rest of us.
Yeah.
On the other side, those who are doing good make life better for all of us. And I know Lady E's got some things to say to you. She's been grinning the whole time, and we're close to the end of this hour, so I'm going to give her the give her the mic and let her say what she wants to say to you.
Okay.
It's just amazing. There is the saying for me, and when I think about your journey, your gift makes room for you. Sometimes we stand in the way of it. We prolong it, we sabotage it. But you know what? What God has for you is for you. And you are using the gift that He gave you. And oh my goodness, the blessings, because you are willing. That's the thing that really stuck to me. You know, your willingness to do the work, even if you don't get to sleep like you would probably need to.
And it's a lot of
Look,
fun. It's a lot of fun. I've been so blessed to work with so many different people and meet so many different people through this journey. I mean, outside of the other flip side of this thing, being a stage manager and production coordinator, man, my portfolio, I've worked with so many people from TLC to Keith Sweat. Man, I mean, it's been just such a blessing to be in the entertainment field. I sung background with Shaka Khan, you know. I mean, God has he done swung open so many different doors, and he won't stop doing it because I know it's part of my ministry.
Yes.
You know, it's all part of
because you are obedient. See, when you
Amen.
listen and you do like He says, you're going to be blessed. Doors are definitely going to be open to you. So, yeah, your gift is definitely making room for you, your willingness and your obedience. You just, like the old folks, you say, you just keep on keeping on.
Well, we got to
Thank
get
you
out of
so
here. We
much.
ended this hour, man. Thank you so much. You know, I know this was a quick turnaround, but I'm glad to hear the entire story. We're going to reconnect, going to get your stuff out there, and bless you, brother. Bless you, brother. Bless you,
Yeah,
brother.
bless you. And I will always be part of the Omega family forever.
Yeah, you got it, man. All right.
Yes,
See
sir.
you soon.
All right.
Thank you. Thank you
Absolutely.
so much.
All right. God bless you guys.
Bless you, brother.
Bye-bye.
Tell me what you see when you look at me. Do you see another brother lost in these streets looking for his soul?
Trying to find my soul.
Or do you see another brother searching for lost souls in these streets? A street soldier.
Street soldier.
Here to help you get that chip off your shoulder, warm your colder days and sober your drunken ways, and find a way to help you get over these hurdles placed in our path. And this is not meant to amuse you. This is for all those who have questions but are afraid to ask.
I won't be afraid. I won't be afraid. No. When times get hard, you lose your way. Open your mind and hear what I say.
This is a message for the hard and the soft. To those who tune in weekly and to those who keep an eye out for 8 p.m. on Sundays and turn their radios off. The truth hurts. The cloth has been pulled. We're walking around half dead. Use this show as your IV. Alive and Free is a new movement. We've achieved self-destruction. A street soldier promotes self-improvement.
Streets couldn't be no colder, so I gotta be a soldier. It shouldn't be this hard for me. Even when it seems so hopeless, I gotta keep my focus. I'm glad to be alive and free, yeah. Streets couldn't be no colder, so I gotta be a soldier. It shouldn't be this hard for me. Even when it seems so hopeless, I gotta keep my focus. I'm glad to be alive and free, yeah.
Hour number two, Alive and Free Street Soldiers Radio. Thank you. Gotta say thank you so much to Farad Dews for spending that first hour with us. I love brothers that get out and stay out. and Lady E. So get out and stay out. And as you said, give back, make up for all the damage that you've done. That's what a brother in San Quentin told me one time. I'll never forget that. I never forgot that line. And, you know, he's right. God is blessing him in the work he's done, the people's doing. Keep on. And when his premiere comes, he does a second premiere, we're going to get him right here on the show, get the word out for everybody. And that's just good person doing good things. It is also, get to this, Autism Awareness Month, and we did a show last year, our first time ever on autism. We want to keep this on your mind, on your plate, because autism is a serious thing, and unbeknownst to me, as I didn't know, that autism is prevalent in communities of color. And one of the things I learned about it is the range. My autism knowledge was, I guess, a severely autistic person, but there's a range of autism. And there's a website, I want to tell you about this website to go to. Oh, and where is it? I thought I wrote it down, but maybe I didn't. I didn't hear. Well, I'll tell you what, there is a film that's come out. We're going to show the trailer. It's called Navigating Autism in Communities of Color. I'm going to show the trailer. This is a good film, I believe, to watch if you're going to get more acquainted with the issue of autism, particularly in communities of color. Let's take a look at the trailer.
In your experience working with Black families, do you think they have an understanding of autism?
They don't necessarily know what autism is. All they know is that their child isn't quite performing or behaving or speaking as they should for their age.
All right, kids, we're gonna put this to the side because we're gonna make slime. Ready? Look at me. All right. You ready to make slime? Okay, so then let's sit down.
They didn't tell me your son is autistic. They just were like, well, we think that he could benefit from these therapies, and I think they might have said he's showing signs of it.
Like he had an obsession with, he had this little play school house, and it was set up like a real house, and it had light switches, and he had this obsession with on, off, on, off, on, off. I said, oh, that's interesting. Why do you keep, I'm like in my head, why does he keep doing this?
So I think that, I just say, man, you have to really just embrace their journey and see the beauty in what they see.
Different means different. Different doesn't mean good or bad. Different means different. So if you believe, oh no, I have autism and now my life is over and I'm not gonna be able to do anything, then oh no, your life is over and you're not gonna be able to do anything. But if your private logic is, I have autism and I'm gonna find all the ways to support myself and I'm gonna make the best out of my life and be whoever I wanna be, there is so much out there, but we have to first remove that fear of different.
You can see how current this documentary is. It is called Autism in Communities of Color. And it is put on by a group called the Multiple Autisms Collective. And it's an interdisciplinary and collaborative effort between academic and community partners. Their goal is to raise awareness of autism in diverse communities through real stories of struggle and hope. I suggest if you want to find out more about autism, take a look at this film. In honor of Autism Awareness Month, April, I couldn't think of any better way than to showcase the piece that we did last year when we had a father and his son. He has two sons. Father and his son come into the studio and talk about the impact of his other son, his autistic younger son, on the family, himself, and it was riveting. It was moving. I knew nothing about autism, And it's one thing to read a story about it. It's another thing to have the father and the older brother come in and talk about the impact they had on their families. And it certainly wasn't an eye opener for me. So I thought it would be good to go back there, take a look once again at Gary Hall and his son Ryan Hall talking about autism. Best way I know to raise awareness. Take a look. All right. With that background, let's jump into what we want to talk about. And the topic of the show is a family's journey, loving and caring for someone with autism. And your son has autism.
Yep.
And we sort of broke this down into three topics here. And just so you know, your son will know, we're going to talk about, first of all, you and your personal journey toward acceptance, and then after acceptance, and then we're going to talk about you. You being a brother, the family has autism. And we had one of our collegians. We sort of broke this down into three. One of our colleagues who was bipolar. Three topics, and that's something else that we don't. Just so you know, talk about a lot.
Right.
And we had her on and. About this an amazing, first of all, amazing two shows and your personal journey. She lives with it, right? It's a disease, right? It's a disease that she lives with. And then we had the family on to talk about the family, talking about living with bipolar.
I love that we're actually talking about autism today because I have a niece and a nephew with autism.
Lord, look at here.
Yeah.
Look at here. Look at here. So I'm going to start. I don't know anything. All right. And when I always say autism, I get these images that come in front of me. Right. And usually what I get is somebody doesn't communicate very well, a speech disorder, that kind of thing. First of all, is the name autism spectrum disorder?
Yeah, that's a great point. So it is a spectrum, and the symptoms are different for different individuals. Some of them show up with a lack of verbal communication. Some of them have issues with sensory deprivation and being very, very, sort of distracted by those sort of things. And so, that's the unique part of this particular sort of disease is that you really can't look at one person and be able to know automatically have autism. The other thing is, Joe, is that there are people who have real developmental challenges. And there are some people who live independently and doing really well that are still on the spectrum. And so that's the key to know.
Yeah, I didn't even know that was a title. I just heard autism right now. I went on and looked up and I saw spectrum disorder, which is probably a better description, right? So I'm just going to read a little bit about this and then you tell me, they better be right because they're putting it out in print, right? ASD, autism spectrum disorder, is a developmental disability caused by differences in the brain. Some people with ASD have a known difference, such as a genetic condition. Other causes are not yet known. Scientists believe there are multiple cases of ASD that act together to change the most common ways people develop. And then it says, of course, we still have much to learn about ASD. People with ASD may behave, communicate, interact, and learn in ways that are different from most other people. There is often nothing about how they look that sets them apart. The abilities of people with ASD can vary significantly. For example, some people with it may have advanced conversation skills, where others may be nonverbal. Right? Some people may need a lot of help in their daily lives. Others can work and live with no support. Are they accurate so far?
That's been my experience.
All right.
The only thing I would say is that, 3 out of 4 people who are on the sort of spectrum have some sort of co-occurring mental health issues.
Ooh, okay.
And that could be everything from behavioral issues like aggression to self-injury. It could be a whole host of things. So it's typically not just one specific symptom.
Says here that ASD begins before the age of 3 and can last through a person's life. Some show symptoms within the first 12 months of life. Others may not show up until 24 months or later, and it has a bunch of other stuff. All right. I'm gonna just read this one more thing. As ASD they become adolescents, children with ASD become adolescents, young adults, they may have difficulties developing and maintaining friendships, communicating with peers and adults. for understanding what behaviors are expected in school or on the job. They may come to the attention of healthcare providers because they also have conditions such as anxiety, depression, or attention ADHD, which occur with more often in people with ASD than without. And so, yeah, that was that. I was reading this just so I learned what I want to have some information about what we're talking about. Was there one more thing in here? And I don't know if this is true or not, but it said, because I saw something that says, it said that boys are more prone to autism than girls. And I was wondering why, if that is the case, but it says so in here.
That is my understanding, Joe. But I think probably the thing that I would love your audience to appreciate is that 1 out of every 36 kids born in the United States today is on the autism spectrum.
1 out of 36.
1 out of 36.
And hasn't that been increasing over the last several years?
Absolutely. My son was diagnosed in 2005. Since that point, we've had an increase in diagnosis of autism by 400%.
400%.
400%.
Since
2005.
That's 18 years ago, right? If I might not, can I still do the math, man? It's 18 years ago, right?
21 years. Yeah. So
that's amazing.
Yeah.
Wow.
18, yeah.
It occurs in all racial, ethnic, and socioeconomic groups. And I am curious as to this more boys than prevalent on boys, but who knows? I mean, who knows why, right? That's probably where they do this research. So this is paper, and this is, the CD putting this out, but this was your child.
That's right.
So the child is, look, I got kids, she got kids, and got kids. Or you got any kids?
I got a dog and 2 cats. That's what I got.
All right. So what was your to begin, bring him home?
Sure. So I think in order to give a true context, I have to tell you about my whole perspective on fatherhood.
Yeah.
So I came from 3 generations of female-headed household. Didn't really have a father in my household, and didn't grow up with one. So I spent a lot of time as a kid thinking about what I would be as a dad.
Yeah.
Right.
Of course.
And so my first son was born, and everything I could have envisioned, he manifested. And then my second son, Grant, who respectively was on the spectrum when he was born, Joe. You have particular kids that reflect a lot of your personality.
Yeah.
And this was one. He had the intensity that some say I possess. There was a lot about him initially that I thought, wow, man, I have these 2 different kids, but there was a lot about him that was just special. He was even counting early from 1 to 20 in English and Spanish. And I'm a finance guy.
English and Spanish?
Yeah, I'm a finance
So
guy.
what age is this counting going on?
This is like 1 early.
One.
Earlier than his brother, right? And so, as a finance guy,
and you'd be like, whoa,
I'm off the charts. So then we moved here to the Bay Area in 2004. And his mom, who had been at home with him, said, I really want to get him tested. He's counting, but he's not saying mom and dad and some other stuff. And in candor, I would just humor her because I could not envision this new finance wizard that I was going to be raising had any issues.
Chip off the old block.
Absolutely. And so we went through the process, and they knew immediately that he was on the spectrum.
Wow.
So for me, I went through bereavement. I had these divisions of these 2 neurotypical boys and what that would be like. I had my point guard and my shooting guard. I had all these, sort of, aspirations for, and your highest aspiration for your kids. I just knew that, my life would be what I'd envisioned. And so it took me a while to accept that reality. And I went through some escapism. I worked even harder, to try to earn as much as I could. And I had the justification of being able to do that. But really, I was really avoiding what was really going on. And that made it really hard because, a lot of kids on the spectrum, and my son definitely had this, they could be aggressive. And so his mom and his brother were left, to deal with that while I was out working, going through my whole sort of escapism. So it took me a long time to appreciate what my normal would be like. And then that's when a new love sort of allowed me to, a new way of thinking that allowed me to care and love in a different way and to learn in a better way.
What age did this, I guess, the early symptoms, did you began to see that there was something
where in fairness, it wasn't me, Joe, it was his mom. You know,
Oh,
there's something
mom.
about a maternal instinct.
Yeah.
And she knew very early on that there was something different. And I was sort of resistant because, you know, we had this type A, very, you know, advanced first child, and the other one's a little different. I just thought, you know, kids are different, right? But his mom knew instantly that there was something that, you know, that we needed to check out.
Must have been a lot of hard conversations.
Very,
yeah.
very tough conversation.
Yeah.
And she
Yeah.
happens to be organizational psychologist too. So
Oh.
yeah, so I was like, okay.
We can see it.
Yeah. So
You know, don't try to tell us different.
exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, look, we men. I
Yeah,
know exactly
yeah,
what you're talking about.
absolutely.
I know how this is up
Yeah,
here, right?
it was
We
tough,
got
man.
to we put a basketball in the crib
Yeah.
when you know, put a football there, you even know what a football is, you
That's
know,
right.
but we have this, so I can just begin to imagine what it was that how you felt,
Yeah.
right? And what you had to learn a lot, right? You really had to learn a lot when you finally says, okay, at least, you know, look, had to, as they say, had to come to Jesus, right?
That's right.
Moments. And as you began to learn, what just to take us through the.
So you know, Joe, I had to learn how to be present.
Mhm.
Okay. You know, when somebody thinks differently than you, learns different than you, in order to really truly connect with them, you have to slow yourself down and really get into their worlds. I'll give you one example. My son has this fascination with building things.
Mhm.
And one of the ways that he soothes himself is to create these unbelievable lines. He'll stack blocks, shoes, but he'll sort of really sort of curate this organizational structure that you really, really are fascinated by. But there also are messages there, right? Sometimes he's telling you, I'm not feeling well.
Oh.
Sometimes he's saying, there's some stuff going on in the house. It's too loud. Daddy, you're watching the game and it's too loud.
Mm.
And it took me a while to understand that he was communicating with me in how he was lining things up, right? But I would only know that if I were present.
Yeah.
And that's a lesson that has
Yeah.
not only connected me with my autistic son,
Yeah.
but it makes me have a bond with my neurotypical son.
Yeah.
And other relationships.
Everything else in your life. First of all, recognizing what it means to be present, because being present doesn't mean being in the room. It doesn't mean being here, not the level of being present that you're speaking about. And I need to backtrack and talk about, I just need to say how courageous and powerful your introduction was with recognizing and being honest, clear with that need to escape, how to see what you don't want to see.
Yeah.
What you've already decided, it's not going to be this way, it's going to be like this, and then to see and accept what's there. So I just need to acknowledge that, because that beginning is powerful. And I really hope people heard your ability to say that, to see that and share that. That's transformative right there.
But that's when the work begins too.
Oh,
right?
Well, and I would add, I can't make it the way I want it to be.
That's right.
Right. And that's huge. You know, I mean, we could be talking about a whole bunch of things, right? You know, I can't make it the way I want it to be, and let me accept it and move forward. Thank you for saying that, Lady, because
I'm also going to add one of the things that we talk about at Alive and Free. We teach the young people how to hear with more than their ears.
Yeah.
That's being present. And so for your son to draw lines or create lines, and then there's a break in the line, and you begin to understand the message that what he's saying and what that means. So not only do you see but you're seeing with more than your eyes. You're seeing with your heart. You're seeing with your senses. You're hearing and feeling and just getting in touch on a completely all the way through level. And see, that can change your level with the work you do, with the people you interact with your clients. It being able to be present changes your life as well as enhances those that you work with. I just needed to say that.
Let me throw the number out again, 877-955-1061. We're talking about autism, one family's journey, loving journey with a child who has autism. If you have anything you want to just, I mean, we find out that Ro has something, with the people that she know. If it's in your family, if you just want to ask questions about it, you can give us a call, 877-955-1061. And feel free to jump in anytime you want to.
Right.
Mhm.
So I had mentioned earlier that my nephew, who's 14, he has autism, and so does my 4-year-old niece. And they are on completely different sides of the spectrum. So my niece, she has more of a mild case. You just looking at her or just communicating with her, you would not even know that she has autism. So of course, autism comes in so many different forms. And my nephew, he does have more of a delayed learning style and his speech, but he's improved so much because my sister put him in a charter school. So obviously in smaller class sizes, and he gets more attention and more like one-on-one help, which he needs and which has helped him tremendously. So something that really surprised me with autism, what I've learned is that people with autism, they have some sort of special talent. So I've heard of people who have autism who are incredible artists, who are incredible pianists.
Yes, I've seen that.
So
Yeah.
that to me is mind-blowing. So
Yeah.
for me, instead of looking at it as some sort of disadvantage, you could also look at it as a gift, Absolutely.
Very much so. I think, not to jump in, but one thing that particularly because autism directly impacts your communication ability, one of the things that's very important is when you are on the autism spectrum, that means you have to find alternative ways to communicate.
Mhm.
That means whether it's with Grant's example, communicating through lines, communicating through architecture, for someone's communicating through music, for some it might be other communication means, but not only is this a way for them to kind of relieve their own stress, relieve their own anxiety, this is also a means for them to communicate through alternative means. So this is not only alleviating their stress, but also allows them to engage with the rest of the world through a somewhat normal way for them, which is a huge anxiety reliever.
We would be remiss if we didn't mention the other side of that. So Ryan is spot on, not having the wiring that connects in his brain to how to, to go from thoughts and feelings to words. When he's sad, when he's hurt, he would communicate in a different way. And
Yeah.
that could be property destruction.
Yeah.
That could be aggressive behavior.
Yeah.
And those are the types of things that a lot of our care facilities and school districts not really prepared for.
Absolutely.
And one of the things that I really want to get out there is the ability to work within the public school system to get the care that you need. Every child is entitled, especially here in California, to free and appropriate education, right?
Yeah.
And how that shows up for kids on the spectrum will be different. And so the ability to advocate for your child and get
Let's come back to that. We got a call. I think somebody wants to call in. All right. Hi, you're on Alive and Free Street Soldiers Radio. Did we lose them? Did they drop? You here?
No, I'm right here.
Oh,
I'm right here.
Go right ahead. We're talking about autism tonight. Your thoughts? Your anything you want?
I was. Thank you, Dr. Marshall.
Yes.
I was hoping if your panel could talk about the supposedly probably causes of it, like the some things with the gut and the intestines, or like the ladies being pregnant and they used acetaminophen or Tylenol or something like that. If they could talk about that, I appreciate it.
If we know, we will. Yes.
I mean, there are a lot of theories as to what are some of the root causes of it. I don't subscribe to them all.
Right.
I leave it that there are definitely something that's genetic, and there's definitely some environmental causes. What
Mhm.
specifically they are, I don't know. But I will tell you is there's definitely a correlation with GI issues and gut and behavioral issues with people on the spectrum. My son is gluten free. And we found that is a mitigator of certain real adverse behaviors on his part. And that could be just because it was painful for him and he didn't know how to communicate.
Yeah.
And so he would act in a certain way to communicate his pain. So don't really know what the drivers are. Do
Mhm.
believe there is a connection between the gut and something that's going on, not just for people on the spectrum, but period. And it might be more pronounced with those on the autism spectrum.
We give you the number again, 877-955-1061, 877-955-1061. Our conversation about autism. We have another call. All right, caller, you're on. Oh, we do? We don't? You want to find out.
Call dropped.
Okay. And I don't want to say the other issue, but a huge issue is how the person with autism feels about themselves. To me, that's got to, I mean, look, especially when you're a kid. I mean, it's tough enough when you're an adult and you might think you're weird or different or something wrong with you. That has to be a major driver in this whole thing. It's got to be there, and making the young person feel comfortable with. We got this whole thing about differences in our society. If you're different, then there's something wrong with you, right? So, how did you deal with that? That just seems to be the other half of the battle, not just how you feel about him, but how he felt about himself.
Well, a couple things. So first and foremost, going back to what Rose said, is that you wouldn't know just looking at my son from the outside in whether or not he had autism, right? Until certain behaviors showed up.
Mhm.
Okay. And how those behaviors were received by other folks. It took a huge amount of evolution for me to get over my own personal chagrin when those things would show up, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's number one. As it relates to how he looked at himself,
Yeah.
Joe, I don't know.
Wow.
Because he hasn't communicated. Now, there have been countless of scenarios where folks who have been on the spectrum, who are on the spectrum, find a communicative ability through some technology and are able to tell us. I would crave that opportunity to know how my son felt, but I can give you some silver lining to this. We made the concerted effort after trying to get him in a sort of the typical school environment. We had to send them to a different place, to a different school, where the school is 100% populated by kids on the autism spectrum.
Yeah.
And so now he has a sense of community.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And seeing
Yeah.
him in that environment.
Yeah.
And not only that, the place where he is, which is in Wichita, Kansas,
Yeah.
they have this sense of acceptance.
Yeah.
And the
Yeah.
combination of these kids being in an accepting environment and seeing others like themselves.
Yeah.
We've seen tremendous amount of positive positive development in my son's
Yeah.
sort of attitude because of that. And his behaviors have gone down.
Yeah.
And just joy.
Oh, wow.
So there is something about being around folks that are like you,
right?
That makes you a little bit more comfortable in the environment as opposed to always feeling different.
Well, yeah, and then my thought is the treatment that he gets from the kids in school and outside. I mean, look, middle school is the worst time in your life, right? Yeah. Before we go to break, middle school is the worst time in your life, and so I can imagine that makes a whole lot of sense. you know, not being teased at school and this and you. I mean, even kids are cruel, right? And so that makes a lot of sense. Got another call? Let's take it. Hi, you're on Street Soldiers Radio. Go right ahead. Who's
Hi.
calling?
My name's Amber, and I have something to add to your conversation, I think.
Yes.
So I'm a mom of two boys. One is 6 and one is turning 1 this week. And recently my 6-year-old, who's been autistic, I knew very early on, got a new diagnosis. So instead of being autistic, now he has, I wish I remembered the name. It's like the auditory version of dyslexia.
Mm.
So I just thought I'd chime in and like throw that out there in case, I don't know, anyone else had heard anything similar, or if you guys had any thoughts on it.
I think the correlation between autism and other secondary diagnoses is very high, particularly when it comes to learning disorders. And one of the reasons for that is how much of your ability to recognize that you have a learning disorder is based on communication. If I'm someone who has dyslexia, if I can't tell you that I'm struggling with these topics, it's harder to be diagnosed and harder to recognize because so much of learning differences is based on self-recognition.
Yeah.
And I guess going back to an earlier point in the conversation that's relevant here comes to learning disorders. And one of the reasons, don't mistake autism as a reflection on intelligence.
Yes.
The reason
just say that again. Say that again. I think that's
Yes,
very important to
do
say.
not mistake autism or any other diagnosis similar as a reflection on intelligence.
Mhm.
Why is that important, particularly to this conversation? Just because someone cannot communicate as we see normal doesn't mean they can't recognize, can't process the fact that they're struggling to communicate compared to those around them. So in terms of how that reflects in terms of depression, how it reflects in self-worth for someone on the autism spectrum, why is it so important that we recognize that? Because they need to know that it's okay for them to have these struggles. They need to hear that because they may not be able to communicate that they can hear it and process it, but they can.
Yeah.
And particularly in the case of Grant, being somewhere where he's surrounded, able to see and able to visualize, I am not the only one having this problem. After being in spaces so long where he is the only one having this struggle, you can instantly see the changes in kind of his overall mood and just seeing, hey, he's smiling more. He's got more energy. He's kind of bouncing around a little more. So I think it's important, not only from a learning perspective, but even just from a personal well-being perspective, that we make sure we as a community really reinforce that these differences do not reflect differently upon you or your own worth, and they hear it from us. They don't need to hear it from, a mental health professional. They need to hear it from us, the people closest around them, because those are the people that they're around all the time.
Boy, that's so well said.
Yeah. You know, we say in our family, you know,
I'm gonna say this is his brother.
Yeah.
This was his dad's brother. So this family's journey ain't no joke. I mean, you know much about what's the age difference between you and him?
He is probably 18 months younger than me.
18 months. Yeah.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful.
And we say difference, not deficient.
Right. Yes. Absolutely. What?
Yeah.
Y'all said some things we need to write down. Yeah.
And you know, so Grant can do a 500-piece puzzle faster than anybody we know.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of other things that he can do.
Yeah.
That's off the charts.
We gotta wrap it up, take a break, play the bills, come back. We'll take your calls as we move into the second hour on Facebook, 877-955-1061. Hour number 2, Alive and Free, Street Soldiers Radio, continuing our discussion on autism. And I love the title of the show. Let me just find it. And where is it? Well, he wrote the title. So A Family's Journey, Loving and Caring for Someone with Autism. Our guests, Gary Hall and Ryan Hall. Gary Hall, the father, Ryan Hall, the brother. And right before we went to break, I was just really applauding you and hearing you the way you, I mean, your whole family jumped into this, is obvious. Your whole family jumped into it and in a loving way and looking out for you. That's what family's supposed, that's the way family should be. So it's wonderful here. I did look up some, in fact, what does it say here about autism in the Black community? And I'm going to read you a little bit about, I still don't think this was very well written, but it's essential that it's unfortunate that many people with special needs will encounter hardship and discrimination. It's essential that we acknowledge the additional obstacles and stigma Black individuals with autism face. Because of this, many Black individuals on the spectrum experience with great challenges in society. And anytime I see this, because this happens a lot within their own community.
Yeah.
So
it's very true.
Within their own communities, and we hard on each other,
Mm-hmm.
you know, a lot of ways. This is just another one, right? And Lady E and I always talk about, you know, and I know why, but you just figure maybe the safest place you should be, the place you're supposed to get the most love is with your own, but it don't work out that way, right? Because for a lot of reasons, I don't want to sound like Malcolm Upset here. We've been taught to hit ourselves. Don't get me started, right?
Okay.
Don't get me started. But according to the CDC, due to the stigma and lack of health services in largely minority communities, Black people and others are significantly less likely to be identified and diagnosed with autism. Without a diagnosis, it is difficult to find treatment or the intervention model that suits one's best needs. And then it talks some more about misconceptions may arise. Anyway, so I assume not, you know, what have you run into in the Black community, or has that shown up at all? Or maybe it doesn't even bother you because your whole thing is, you know, get help for your son and your brother.
Right. So, you know, we talked a lot, I would say that first hour, about loving someone with autism. Now we should talk about caring for someone with autism.
Yeah.
And caring for that person's well-being in a host of different settings. You know, socially, and how that resonates within our community. It was some challenges. There were certain dinner parties we didn't bring our son to because we knew that it wouldn't be a great environment for him.
Mm-hmm.
For example, our son uses a lot of technology in order to soothe themselves because a lot of what we call sensory input, whether it's noise or lights, that can be very, very disturbing to him. So the only way he soothes himself is to either get into his own music or watch his own videos so that he can tune all that sort of stuff out. And you will have people not knowing say, well, you know, why don't you get the iPad away from that kid? Or why is he still looking at his phone so much? And not knowing what's going on because he looks, you know, neurotypical in most eyes. And then people then, as Ryan mentioned before, would conflate intelligence with autism.
Right.
And we even we've incurred the R word of retarded before, just not people not knowing and not being familiar. So, you know, in that caring for our son, we had to do some educating folks around us. Those circles became small.
I was gonna say, how well did that go? I'm wondering how
yeah.
that well did that go sometimes?
You know, but it actually, going back to these hidden lessons, you know, you kind of figure out who your tribe is, right?
Yeah.
You know, so
Yeah.
if people couldn't get our son, they couldn't get with us. And
Yeah.
that was okay, you know,
Yeah.
so people self-select out.
Yeah.
And so that was not only a lesson in caring for my son, it's a lesson I use for myself now.
Yeah.
So that was helpful. And I don't think I was that way before having this situation, right?
Yeah.
But specific to him being African-American, Joe, and how I care for him and care for myself, caring for him, there have been some things that we had to do that's a little different. I was mentioning to you off air is that, you know, I live in Piedmont, right? And so my son had this elopement issue where he would look out his window and see backyards and swings and say, okay, I'm gonna get out the house and go play with them, right?
Yeah.
And so, you know, that seems great and normal until you think about a 10-year-old
Black
African-American
boy.
going to somebody's backyard
In Piedmont.
and you got to say, okay, you know, we don't want that to be misconstrued. And so I literally took a picture to the police station, say, hey, here's my son, here's his diagnosis, he has his issues with elopement. And so if you were to see him, please understand who he is and what he's not about, so there won't be any sort of tragedy. You know, if I'm being stopped in a car and there's flashing lights going out, that sensory deprivation issue that my son has could cause him to have a behavior. He could be aggressive.
Yeah.
And so now you have a cop going in and my
Yep.
son being a behavior, and you know, you got to explain these things. And not a lot of people, not even in the public safety community, but even in the mental health community are really clear on what autism is, right? And so throughout our journey, we've had to do a tremendous amount of education of others in order to care for ourselves.
How did that go over with the popos, as they say? How did that go over with the PD?
You know, it was an interesting discussion. I had to do it twice, right? So the first time I went and I talked to somebody, you know, they exclusively thought it was a race thing, right? And so, and I had to say, no, listen.
You had to get them off that
yeah,
ledge.
I was like,
right.
listen, this is deeper than that. And so I had to talk to their supervisor. And when I did that, they got it.
Mhm.
And you know, it was tough for me to feel like I had to do that, but you know, I was caring for my son.
Absolutely.
And so in that regard, it took some reps, and the community was actually pretty accepting.
That's good.
You know, one of the reasons my son went to Headwaters to K through 12 is that early on, you know, I saw, and this is my perception, he might have a different one, that I saw that students and the families that we encountered when we were in school were pretty accepting of his brother. And so for me, that made me feel comfortable my son could be there without him facing a source of chagrin because his brother was not neurotypical.
Yeah.
So that was a comforting thing for me, you know. So you have to do a lot to make these adjustments, man, to care for your kid.
I'm still at that police thing. Really,
Yeah.
I mean
Yeah,
look, we all get the lesson, right?
Yeah.
We all get the hands on the steering wheel. You know, don't reach for anything. Yes, sir. No, sir. You know. Lord, we all get that lesson, and yeah, that's just. Look.
So now he's 21, and he's coming back home, and so now we have to deal with that on a different level. I mean. You know, the kid, purportedly the kid that was out in, I forget his name, out in Colorado, who got killed when he got injected, was somebody on the spectrum. And so we think about those stories all the time.
Yeah, yeah. So he was in school with you, right? Is that correct? No, he wasn't.
So
Okay.
I was at Head Royce. He originally went through, correct me if I'm wrong, please.
Mhm.
He originally went through various Oakland Unified public schools because they were able to at least try to meet his needs.
Yeah.
Ran into difficulties with them actually being able to support that.
Yeah.
Then went through charter systems. Then eventually through the district was able to find kind of proper placement through a boarding school out in Wichita, Kansas.
Well, we went to Piedmont Unified School. Not Oakland Unified. Not Oakland.
Yeah. I had a thought and I lost it. I want to stay for a minute with how it's looked at in our community, right? Do you see just any progress in that, or is it because we don't have conversations? Maybe it's strictly because we don't have the conversation, you know?
Well, two things I would say. You know, unfortunately, the diagnoses are going up.
Yeah.
So there's becoming more awareness because people like myself, Ro, and others, we have more connectivity and more proximity to the issue, right? So that's one thing. There are still pockets of, I would call, willful blindness. You know, that we deal with.
Use a whole lot of
topics.
I'm gonna write down willful blindness. I love that one too.
Yeah, there's still and then you just know how to navigate around that, Joe. But I think the more conversations like we're having here today,
yes,
and more forums that people allow for our story to get out and other story to get out, I think that'll be a way of mitigating this whole issue.
Yeah.
But I that's not what keeps me up at night, because maybe I don't care about what people think. What keeps me up at night is that I was a person of means, and I had the resources to be able to find proper care for my kids.
Yeah.
I couldn't fathom what life would be if I was not, right?
Right.
And I worried about the underinsured and uninsured having the means to be able to care for their kids, which are predominantly, Black and Latinx people who are experiencing that.
Yeah.
And I worry about what that's going to mean for these adults that we're going to have, in years to come, since there's 400% an increase in this diagnosis being prescribed.
I don't think it's important. I think it's more important we stress that part particularly because one of the things I do think is relevant within the Black community is the Black community, as we know, under-resourced, underfunded, sometimes strategically, sometimes not. But with autism, now you go into a level of, okay, we are not only underfunded, but we have specific needs. We have hyper-specific needs, not only to deal with our race and kind of things specific to what we are unable to access, but now also when it comes to autism, you add another level of specification. And when you are already an under-resourced and underfunded community, and you have extra specific needs, the gap between where you are and where you need to be is just eons apart. And as a result, to that point, it becomes harder for these people, whether they're diagnosed at a young age or not, even if they know, even if there's knows whether it's within the family, whether it's the individual, that this person is on the autism spectrum, because there's such a gap between the tools and resources that they need,
Yeah.
not only to prosper, but just to be in a position where like they're being properly served as a person. Because it's so far apart, that adds on even more to the points earlier we were talking about how that affects your mental health, how that affects your physical health, all those different factors, because you're so far apart from the things that you need. And honestly, because you're not told where to even start looking for those things. That's true.
And just to buttress that point, we're fortunate here in California that we have regional centers. And these regional centers are the repository of information about care for people with disabilities, right? I could not believe this. I was at an event that was hosted by Stanford University, specifically on autism and how people are caring for folks, both adolescents and adults, right? And all the experts around the country are at this place. First of all, a scarcity of minorities, right? I think I counted 3 or 4 African American and maybe even less Latin. So just that's number one.
Yeah.
And this is where you get all the information, right?
Yeah.
But this fact told me there's something systemic that's wrong, right? Even with these regional centers that are charged with being this repository of information, they are not allowed to voluntarily to give you the information. You can ask them, and once you ask, they will provide, but they are not allowed to volunteer services for you, right?
Why?
So if you don't know the question,
well, why not?
There's something.
Is there some law that you can't give people information about?
Well,
they're worried about being sued. I mean, what's the deal here?
The point is that unless you come armed, knowing what you want, you won't get the services that you need.
But part of knowing what you want is being educated about
the
what you
services.
want.
Knowing what to ask.
That's exactly what.
Knowing what to ask. Exactly.
So even folks with means are having to do their own research to go in to advocate to get the services that they
quantity control.
Yeah. So I mean,
that's crazy.
But it's fact.
Yeah.
Crazy fact.
You caught me without being able. Wow.
So we're running up against this have and have nots.
Yeah.
On steroids.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. You also made the point earlier that there's not nearly enough mental health people in this field, right?
That's right.
That or people of color in this field specifically.
There's only of the entire mental health sort of population or umbrella, only 13% are people who have expertise in autism.
Well, combine that with I don't know what the number is off the top of my head, the mental health field already is low on people like us.
Yeah.
Like now combine those two numbers that are already too low, try to find the cross section.
And there's no overlap between sort of the mental health and primary care, which going back to what Ro was talking about with the host of GI issues and a whole host of issues that folks have. You need to have one hand knows what the right hand is doing, because that's how you mitigate some of these behaviors with some of these folks.
Ro, did you know a lot of this?
This is actually my first time hearing of this. So yeah, this is educational for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know how your family's dealing with, or maybe, I don't know if you're privy to that information I hope they're listening, we could pass this on to them. Because if it's as common a thing as we're hearing, everybody needs to know, what to do. And people starving for answers. They're looking for ways, right? They're looking for ways to deal with this whole thing. I'm just so struck. Now, this is an appropriate title. The family's loving journey is just beautiful. But it all started with your willingness to look at it and then look at yourself, right? And obviously, it maybe not half the battle, but at least, the beginning battle is taking yourself out of the picture.
That's right.
And that's I'm thinking of a lot of folks that I know who, you know, who that kid's crazy. You know, I mean, I know I know these folks, right? And you just that's the big thing, man. That is to humble yourself. And I call it humbling yourself and saying, you know, let me take out of it. This is my child. Let me find out what's going on here and do the best. And that's why I just think your whole story is just wonderful. Because I don't know many. I hope everybody will be able to do that. Yeah. And then more so being you know, talking about it. I just think it's just incredible.
You know, we we're approaching Thanksgiving, and I'm so glad you have us during this time, because for me, you know, I give thanks to both my kids, right?
Yeah.
I'm so blessed. You know, I've got this wonderful, smart young man next to me who teaches me things every day. And then I have this other special kid,
yeah,
who's taught me so much and has given me so many contributions to my EQ, even though his IQ is one that's questioned all the time. But this whole notion of being listened and being present and judging people from the inside, not the outside,
yeah,
all that sort of stuff I learned from my autistic son. And what true unconditional love and caring is for. You know, I'm so blessed to have him.
Yes, you are. Brother to brother. Let's talk brother to brother.
Sure.
No, not me and you, brother to brother, but you and your brother to brother. Just talk about that relationship. Dad, let's talk about that.
Definitely. I think for me, it's actually interesting the way that you, saying you as in dad, kind of framed the story. For me, I've had somewhat of not an opposite pathway, but for me, because Grant and I are only 18 months apart.
Yes.
And because really by the time he was diagnosed, I was almost 4 years old. Having a brother on the autism spectrum, having a brother with autism is the only way I viewed sibling relationships, because that's been normal for me.
Mhm.
As far back as I can remember, I can always remember having the understanding of, okay, my brother is on the autism spectrum.
Yeah.
So some of the things that from the outside looking in would seem atypical for how a sibling relationship would work, or seem atypical for how familiar relationship would work between him and I never questioned it or never looked at it differently, because for me, that's what siblings do. That's what siblings are. Like,
yeah,
sure, maybe there are differences in there are differences in his ability to communicate, but that didn't change our relationship. I didn't feel any disconnection from him, because for me, yes, you couldn't necessarily talk to me perfectly, but I had always knew how you tried to communicate and always knew how he tried, what it was for him in communication. So I never felt anything was lacking in terms of a sibling to sibling relationship, because
wow.
I never felt I had to relearn how to understand him or relearn how to communicate with him. So I was very fortunate in that regard, that for me, it never felt unnormal. It never felt a sense of, oh, I'm different from everyone else. It's no, this is what our relationship is. And as I've grown, as I've matured, as I've gotten to see more, it's given me a better appreciation for the relationship that he and I have, because yes, it looks different than the quote unquote traditional sibling relationship. But I can also recognize none of the actual factors that make a sibling relationship what it is are missing. Just because they look different doesn't mean they're not present. And that's one of the things that, fortunately, because it's always been normal, I was never put in a position where I've had to accept that between us, had to accept it kind of as if it was abnormal, because that's just what it was. And as a result, from my lens, at least in my experience, that's one of the blessings of our relationship, because it never felt as though I had to reteach myself about him or reteach myself about his experience, because it was all I saw.
He's a good man, right here. A good man. Good brother.
we have to admit, though, one of the reasons Ryan and I have these guideposts on this with such clarity is the person who first noticed Grant's autism is unbelievable, and that's his mom.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
she was a real just evangelist about this is our normal.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah.
she was like, "You got to get over it and accept this, and help me on the other side to care for her."
I can imagine what those conversations were like.
Yeah, and then for Ryan, you got to love this kid. You know, this is what loving relationships are like, and don't look over the shoulder at somebody else's and judge their sort of sibling relationship based on yours. This is yours, and so we had that strength within to really help us get on the page where we had to be there for Grant.
Mr. Still, I know you understand that.
Absolutely.
I think particularly on that note, one of the things that, as I've matured and looked back on it, one of the biggest things from my experience being both of us being younger when it was earlier, probably best times like both of us in elementary school, the quote unquote differences that my experience may have been with the sibling relationship, likely because of what both my dad and my mom taught me, and also just because of the way of our relationship was, I never in those moments viewed them as sacrifices. And that was one of the, I think, biggest things that drove our relationship.
Wow.
I was never taught, I guess taught maybe not the best word, but really was never taught, never made to view anything I had to do to help Grant meet Grant where he was or help us meet in the middle, never sacrifices. That's just what.
Or taking anything away from you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I never, and obviously you would be able to speak best for yourself, but I think that's one of the things that all three of us had to, in a way, either learn to or kind of experientially just naturally learn to accept that, and really learn to ingratiate with us, that made caring for Grant, not only as a brother, not only from father and mother perspective, but just as a family unit, it made it a lot easier for us because it never felt doing this was a net negative for any of us in this regard. No, doing this is being there for family.
It's what you do.
It's what
This
exactly.
is
It's just
what we
normal.
do. That's right.
And Candid, we didn't have a lot of time to be feeling sorry for ourselves.
Yeah,
and
'cause
we
he's growing.
We knew that the Calvary wasn't coming, man. You know,
I like that too.
We talk about the fact that Grant is at this school in Wichita, Kansas. This didn't come our way. We had to do a tremendous amount of research. We had to go out and visit several different places, from Boston to Cleveland to other places, to get a feel for it. You should know the reason he's in Kansas because they don't have schools here, because again, resources are scarce. But it took a tremendous amount of effort on the part of our part to get there, to find these wonderful care environments. So we didn't have the luxury to be sitting around talking about, man, wow, I wish I could have a normal, father son relationship with both my kids. Or wow, I wish my brother was different. We had to deal with what's right in front of us, and that's what I worried about. These folks out here who are dealing with this now, and if they don't have either the resources or the know-how or the support family members around them that provided them with the gas that you need in order to get this done, every day that goes by, you're on the clock. Right. And you've got to sort of mitigate it. The earlier you can get in with intervention services, the better the outlook is for the development of the autistic child. So you have to start. So there are men and women who are sitting around and being bereaved about normalcy. You ain't got time for that. Yeah, you got to get to it and try to care for your child, making him to get he or she the best possibilities they can have.
But I also think that touches on something very specific within the Black community, which is one thing about the Black communities we have learned through experience. We don't really have time to sit and feel sorry for ourselves. We as a culture are very much built on something happens. All right, tough stuff. We pick ourselves up and we go right back at it and we keep pushing until we've solved it. And on the one hand,
and some people see that as a burden. I've never seen that as a burden.
Never.
I
But
never have.
On the one hand, I see how that can become a negative in the space of autism.
Yeah.
Because if someone is struggling with communication, struggling with these things that are symptoms of autism, the natural reaction is, well, push through it. Like, no, there may be something there that we need to dive deeper into, and maybe that's a diagnosis. But the one thing that gives me hope, particularly within the Black community in the autism space, is we are a culture that will not stop until we get the answers we need. And yes, the system within autism caring is systematically, not systematically, whatever, riddled with obstacles to make it incredibly difficult to get to the places where you need to be. But the one thing that does give me the most amount of hope within Black autism as a Black culture and autism, that intersection, is that I know through seeing our people in all walks of life that we'll move mountains to get to where we need to go. And we will make sure whatever is best for our kid or our sibling or this person, no matter what we need to do to care for them, we'll make sure we get there. And I think particularly as the information, obviously as information becomes more available, but even as the exposure within the community becomes more available, that's the biggest thing.
Look,
that's
you know,
going to drive us forward.
All of us know here, this whole quote American experiment was set up for us to fail, period. Only reason I haven't failed is we refuse to lose, right? And once we figure out what we got to do, we rise to the occasion. But you got to get the information out to people to give them hope, and things like this give people hope that it can be done.
Well, Joe, I love my son. He's very, very smart, but
Yes, he is.
sometimes he's very idealistic.
but we need both.
Yeah, we do.
We need both.
And so
and remember, it's the young people.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. I hear you. And so, I'm sitting here now with the 21-year-old, right?
Yeah.
And school districts have a responsibility for free appropriate education.
Yeah.
Up until the age of 22.
Yeah.
Which means my son ages out
Right.
of any support that he gets from the public school system in less than a year.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm dealing with how do I care for an adult with autism for the rest of his life.
Yeah.
So I have the luxury of making sure that he has, I'm going to use some stuff that you probably people don't know about, a special needs trust. So that he won't be burdened with the financial responsibility of caring for his brother. Right. And ABLE account. What is an ABLE account? An ABLE account is I'm sure you've probably talked about 529s to help people save for college education.
Right.
Well, the same is available to help you save to care for somebody with special needs. All right. Where you can then put money into an investment vehicle and you can earn tax-free so that you can pay for those services. We're doing that now to care for our kids. People remember, I got to care for him for the rest of his life, which is going to be hopefully way past my life.
Yeah.
Right? All right. And that requires resources to do that for adults. And you don't have the luxury of having the government there for you because the cavalry ain't coming. So my concern for our community is making sure that we arm ourselves with the resources to be able to care for these adults and making sure that the systems are set up so these adults, when they matriculate, for the people on autism, when they matriculated from adolescence to adulthood, there's care for them. Otherwise, I don't know what's going to happen to these population of autistic children that will be adults down the road.
Yeah. Wow. Well, you've raised it all. You've raised it all, which is what I wanted you to do. Put it out there. I'm just sitting here so overwhelmed by the whole thing. But I guess the greatest thing I feel is love.
Right.
The love that you have for your son, for your brother, the love you have for people, right? And that does in many ways, it may not conquer all, but it conquers a lot.
It does.
It conquers a lot. And your thought all the way down the line, yes, the raising and the whole bit. So I just want to thank you, really, both of you, just for coming in here. And like I said, this is an audience that wouldn't necessarily hear this. Right. So that's the beauty of Street Soldiers. Lady E, I know you have some things you want to communicate to the Hall family.
Well, I got a text message from somebody, and they asked me if you have heard about a new documentary, a new film called Beyond, a documentary about autism.
I have not.
Okay. So evidently there is a new film called Beyond, and it's a documentary about autism. And so, no, I have been learning and watching and listening and just paying attention. And there's a lot of things that I've seen. And so one of the things beyond the brilliance that this young man has brought in, and how matter of fact you are with that. It's just, when you talk about, somebody says that my son is brilliant, I'm like, all right. And you like, yeah. That's the way it's supposed to be. I'm not surprised. Yeah, absolutely. All right. the brilliance of this young man, his ability to articulate and share, and your openness and the courage. But one of the things that I am most touched by is Grant's gift to this family.
Yeah.
If there is indeed anything true about it being decided beforehand where a child would end up, he chose you. And he couldn't have chosen a better couple to come into. You were chosen.
That's that soul contract.
To take care of this young man and the gifts that he has given you and your family: perseverance, patience, fortitude, strength, courage, gentleness, understanding. Did I say patience? Love, transformation, acceptance, understanding. All of these and so much more are Grant's gifts to you. How he has changed you from who you were, who you thought you were, to who you see you've become. You had no idea. Your expectation was what he was going to do. And you had no idea. He has brought you to a place, I'm going to say it, that God created you to be, and you didn't know. You didn't know it was coming, and you had no idea how you were going to get to be, because sometimes it's about money. It's about job. It's about career. It's about status. But he's taught you how to love. He's taught you how to care. He's taught you how to stand and deal with the hard stuff and still be gentle. I watched you when you reached over to get your son's attention. I've watched how you did, and you gently touched him. Do you know how hard it is to find a man, a Black man, that's present, gentle, kind, courageous, humble? That's Grant's gift to you. No question. And to you. And now his gift to us. Thank you.
Yes. Nobody says it better than a lady.
Well
Lady
said.
E. Lady E. And let me just say, look, we're in an organization together. A lot of us don't really know each other, right? I mean, this has been great for me also.
For that
just to
is
know more about
how
you
much of your
and
ability-
your family and your son. And look, like,
And
let me just
you
say,
can count me in that inner circle.
Look, seriously, you know, we're in an organization together. You know, you come in a lot of us don't really know each other, right? I ain't got a lot of money, but I mean, this has been great for me. Also, you know, just count me in that
Much of
circle.
your
And
ability
looking after,
and
I'm gonna
your
look
son.
after him. Just
And
like,
look, like,
and let me just say,
count me in that inner circle.
You know, I'm a dad. I know seriously, what that's like. Just like you. We're in an organization together. You know, you come in. A lot of us don't really know each other, right? I ain't got a lot of money, but some people are really into it. Also, I just want to thank you so much. Just count me in that circle. And looking after, I'm gonna look after him. Just like, and let me just say, count me in that inner circle. I'm a dad. I know seriously. Thanksgiving, we're in an organization together. You know, you come in. A lot of us don't really know each other, right? I ain't got a lot of money, but everybody. We'll see you next week. We got our Thanksgiving. Count me in that circle. And looking after, I'm gonna look after him. For the next, like.